Good morning, folks. If we take our seats, we'll get started. And that's a nice way of saying, councillors, stop talking, have a seat. Kendra. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Environment and Sustainability Standing Committee. It's July the 5th, isn't it? My agenda says 4th. Yeah, it's revised. It's your husband's birthday? 29? He's 29, is he? Happy birthday to Councillor Lovelace's husband. I'd like to call this meeting to order. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge, as always, that we're on the land of the Mi'kmaq people, and we are all treaty people. First item on the agenda is approval of the order of business and approval of additions and deletions. Mr. Clerk, are there any additions or deletions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. There are no additions from the clerk's office to the agenda.
Anything from committee members? Seeing none, so could we have a motion of approval of order? Moved by Councillor Moore, second by Councillor Lovelace. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, we now have an agenda. Is there a call for declaration of conflicts of interest? No one has personal association with moths who don't like bees? No? Well, we're good. So now we come to the two items on the agenda, the reports. First one up is 4.1, analysis of Halifax becoming a bee city. Who would like to put that motion on the floor? Catherine Morris, would you mind? Go ahead, the floor is yours.
I move that the Environment and Sustainability Standing Committee recommend that Halifax Regional Council direct the Chief Administrative Officer to apply for bee city status within 1 year of hiring a naturalization coordinator.
Second by Councillor Lovelace and Councillor Morris. The floor is yours.
Are we going to have a presentation on this?
There's not, but staff are here to answer questions.
Okay, I do have a few questions,
Great.
if I could, for staff.
Can we ask Ray Walsh to come forward and talk about bees, too? Well, Ray, you can have a bee question, can't you? Councillor Morris, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the report and the work done on this. I was a little disappointed that the recommendation is to wait for the naturalization coordinator, but I certainly understand the benefits of doing that. But I'm just wondering if you could perhaps highlight for the committee why you think this is important for us to wait until we have the staff person in place, and also if you can give us an update for when you think they may be able to be hired and start the project. Thank you.
All right, am I on mic? Perfect.
Yes, you are, yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. So Emma Bocking, Environment Specialist. So the rationale for waiting until a naturalization coordinator was hired, we wanted to make sure we had all the staff capacity in place to make sure we were able to continue to fulfill the commitments of the Bee City program for years and years instead of just right at the beginning and then kind of tapering off. And one of the main requirements of the program is to demonstrate that you're increasing pollinator habitat year over year. And we felt that the best position in place to do that would be someone in the role of a naturalization coordinator who would be every year building on that amount of land as pollinator habitat every year. And I believe that that position was posted this week. So I think they should be hired sometime this summer. Thumbs up, yeah. Yeah. So that's a great progress and exciting to see for sure.
Okay, and from your point of view, are there particular, I mean, the habitat is crucial and expanding and being consistent about that. I think that's a very good point. But are there any other measures in becoming a bee city that you think HRM should prioritize, just so that the committee is aware of that and can follow up in the future?
Yeah. I guess it's important to note as well, there are a number of actions that we're already taking that will qualify us to be a bee city. So I would say we could apply tomorrow and be into the program. It was more a question of making sure that we could commit to building and improving year over year. So, for example, we have an administrative order that allows residents to plant in their boulevard garden strip between their houses and the road. And there's resources online on the halifax.ca website that promotes the use of native plants and other pollinator-friendly species. There's a bylaw that allows residents in most areas to keep bees for honeybees. There is the naturalization strategy that will increase now. So I think through these actions and through outreach to people to encourage them to plant pollinator gardens, we'll see some good uptake in pollinator habitat.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lovelace, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for this report. This is something that we talk a lot about in my family because we're beekeepers. What my brother is involved with the Beekeepers Association. Obviously, he's aware of some of the issues. He gets the calls to help people remove swarms. And there is a significant increase of swarms. And people are not educated. Residents don't know. Some people are locked in their home. They can't open their front door because the swarm has taken over their porch. And it's especially frightening for elders or people who live alone, people with young children. The list goes on of how many people are being impacted by irresponsible beekeeper bee ownership. Now, we do know that in 2016, Council updated the bylaw, A700, respecting animals and responsible pet ownership, to exclude bees. I wonder, has staff considered, understanding what needs to happen in order to address irresponsible bee ownership? If we want to be a bee-friendly city, I think we have to take a step back and think about what does that mean to ensure that we have responsible beekeepers in the urban area, in the rural area. We're at a point now where, the amount of swarms, we just saw 2 days ago in Ottawa, 30,000 bees in one tree. So many bees that the limb actually broke and the bees went everywhere. So, this is the kind of thing I think that we also need to put in check, is to ensure that if we're going to apply for bee status and we're going to encourage beekeeping in the urban area, that we also ensure that there is educational programming for people to not only how to address swarms, but how to ensure that swarms are not created in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good question, and through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor. And it sounds like you might know more about beekeeping than I do if it's in your family. I would be really interested to see the data around the numbers and to compare it to other municipalities where they allow beekeeping in urban areas, to see if there is an increase or if people are just more aware of these things, or where people live, or if it's connected to climate, or if they're coming out at different times of the year. I think there's definitely some unknowns there. I think a neat part of the Bee City program is that it requires the formation of a committee of external stakeholders with expertise in naturalization and native pollinators and beekeeping. So during the report writing process, I met with a few of these folks, and one of them, or two of them, were beekeepers with the Nova Scotia Beekeeping Association. And during the meeting, actually, one of them mentioned that there's a lot of miseducation about swarms and what to do with them, and they had a business where they would go and collect the swarms and bring them to a beehive, because the swarm is a fully functioning hive. It just is when the colony grows, and maybe it is connected to mismanagement, I'm not sure. Then a group of the hive leaves and establishes in somewhere else, and then leaves again and finds a new hive. So there's a business and a company of people who go and collect the swarms and bring them to a new hive. So there can definitely be more education around that, and I think having that committee in place will be really useful to spread that information. And I'll just also underline that despite the name, the Bee City program isn't just about bees, and it's not even really about beekeeping at all. It's about improving habitat for all of our native species of pollinators, which includes dozens of species of bees, aside from honeybees, but also birds like hummingbirds and flies and moths and all sorts of other insects as well.
And so on that note, perhaps it might be helpful for the committee to hear from the Beekeepers Association of Nova Scotia, invite them here to chat about ways that we can work with them and support the work that they do, both through educational, but also around the swarms. Because if people are just going to their local hardware store to get pesticides to kill all those bees, rather than calling a company and having to pay to remove the swarm, it kind of defeats the purpose of calling ourselves the Bee City, bee-friendly city. So let's continue to have this conversation about how we can ensure that we work with the various beekeepers in HRM.
Thank you, Councillor Lovelace. I think there's an opportunity for lots of education here, and great idea to invite the Beekeepers Association of Nova Scotia to come to this committee. They can even bring some bees if they like. So, second time around, Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure that we're all clear here that the point of the Bee City is really more about native bees, native pollinators, native species. It's not so much about domesticated bees. I mean, there's intersection and overlap, but the point of this really, I believe, is to try to find ways to encourage the native species that are declining because of habitat loss and other reasons, pesticides in the environment and that sort of thing. So perhaps you could just highlight for us what the key things are that we need to do to make sure that we're supporting our native bee and native pollinator populations.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor, I think as with all wildlife conservation, it really comes down to habitat availability and also connectivity. So the interesting thing about pollinator biodiversity, it's kind of an easy win for urban areas because they just don't require as much space as our larger mammals. So there's a lot of opportunity to increase habitat space and also that connectivity. And that's kind of where that boulevard gardening strip is a neat idea, where you have that visual of the strip down the road that the pollinators can fly to and connect to. That's why having the naturalization coordinator and that strategy being built up will be so important, because we have so much parkland and lawn, and it will be the more of that. I feel like I'm not going to speak for what that naturalization coordinator person is going to do, but from what I understand, there is a lot of opportunity already in a list waiting for this person to tackle, and a lot of areas that are currently not really used by people, but could really be beautified by this increase in biodiversity and feeding and resting and nesting habitat for different pollinators. So it's really an exciting opportunity. I think there's probably a lot of low-hanging fruit there, and I guess another example of an action that the municipality has already taken that will help pollinators is the integrated pest management plan, and the function of that plan is to look at how we manage pests and especially invasive species in a way that puts the use of pesticides at the bottom of the list and emphasizes ecological methods of control and management. So a lot of invasive species as well can be really harmful for pollinators. So the more we can effectively manage invasive species, the better for pollinators as well.
Yeah, it's a whole integrated approach, and that it makes sense that you're recommending that we have that naturalization coordinator who can take that sort of overview and broad planning approach. So thanks again for your comments on this.
Thank you, Councillor. I see that Councillor Stoddard would like to speak about bees. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to apologize to yourself, the committee, and staff. I had a meeting with senior management, and I tried to back out a little bit, but it went over time. Please excuse me.
No problem. You know, senior managers, they're big talkers, right? You can't get them to settle down, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
No, pardon? Yeah, that's right. Do we have any other speakers on the subject? So if someone would like to call for the question, we can vote on it. Question's been called for. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? That has passed. Thank you very much. Thank you, staff. Emma, was this your first time speaking to this committee?
No,
Oh.
I was here for the integrated pest management.
Excellent. Well, it's
Yeah.
like a hockey referee. We don't remember your name. You did a good job. So
Thanks.
well done. Well done. Next to the last item on the agenda for today is a motion from Councillor Daigle Gammon. Councillor, would you like to put the motion on the floor, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Motion that the Environment Sustainability Standing Committee request a presentation at a future meeting from Planning and Development on the current policies of the River Lake Secondary Plan relative to no net increase in phosphorus, how it is applied, lessons learned, and any changes to regulations at a provincial and federal government that may promote a review.
Second by Councillor, who said that? Yep, Sauter, thank you. Yeah. Councillor?
So a little confusion today. I actually thought the presentation might be today, but one of the things that prompts this motion is the fact that there is a bylaw that says no net increase in phosphorus in the Fall River community. There is a development that was approved. There is a lot of questions still, almost a year later, about whether or not how HRM interpreted that bylaw. And so what we need to do is to hear that presentation to understand what lessons are learned and are there any changes that are going to be coming forward in terms of an amendment to that bylaw. But we need to hear the presentation from staff.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have, staff, any indication if this passes today, would it be the next Environment Committee meeting? Is that the intent? So looking at a meeting in August. See you, Shannon. Welcome, Shannon.
Good morning. Shannon Miedema, Director of Environment and Climate Change. Mr. Chair, is there actually a meeting of ESSC? No, it's not till September, but this is a request of Planning and Development, and I don't think there's any P&D staff here today, so Councillor Daigle Gammon may have had discussions about them being ready. I think they had been ready for potentially June, so yeah, thanks.
So look, thank you for that. Looking at it, a special meeting could be called. We have that ability if necessary. So maybe we can have that conversation, Councillor Daigle Gammon, afterwards if there's a timing issue here.
If I may, Mr. Chair, yes, Planning and Development is aware of the motion and actually have been partners in the design of it and the writing of it, so to make sure that it actually reflects what it is that we need to do. So they should be prepared for September. I will speak with planning to see if a special meeting is required.
Great, thank you. Seeing no one else on the board, do we have a call for a question? Question's been called for. All those in favor of the motion? And seeing nobody opposed, that's been carried. Thank you, Councillor. That brings us to the end of our meeting for today. I appreciate everybody coming in. It was a special meeting. We'll look forward to seeing you most likely in September, if necessary, maybe in August. Thanks very much, and have a great day, everyone.